this news is a couple of days old, but nevertheless it's been announced that Errol Spence Jr. will square off against Yordenis Ugas in a welterweight unification match on the 16th of April at the AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. This is great news. It's a great announcement and it's an awesome fight and a very important fight as well. However, I want to ask the question, is this a great fight that has come at the wrong time? And when I say the wrong time, I don't mean what people typically mean in terms of from a financial perspective, where people say stuff like there's not enough hype for the fight, there's not enough public demand, it's not going to be a financial success, they should push it back a little bit. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, has it come at the wrong time for Errol Spence? Errol Spence is a legitimate fighter at welterweight. He has a good claim to be one of the best, or the best, in the division. He still has to prove it, but he's on his way to proving it. But we know what Errol Spence has gone through recently. He had that car crash following the Sean Porter fight. But even before that, it looked like there were signs where his discipline was starting to fluctuate after he won the IBF title from Kell Brook. Then he beat Sean Porter in a very good fight, had the car crash, and we haven't really seen much of him since. He came back in December of 2020 against Danny Garcia and scored a pretty comprehensive victory. And it was remarkable when you consider that he had had that car crash. But I think we have to remember that Danny Garcia has never been one of the elite names, I want to say, at welterweight. He's a good name, he's a solid name and a high level, world level welterweight. But is he one of the elite? I don't think so. He's got some decent power, he's crafty, he's kind of smart, but you'd really expect someone like Errol Spence to beat Danny Garcia. So it was impressive, as I say, in the context of Errol Spence coming back from that car crash. However, Errol Spence, in my eyes, did not look the same. He looked off. He looked like he was straining. His body wasn't as strong as it was before, which is really to be expected when you suffer or you're involved in a horrendous car crash like he was. And I'm just asking the question now, will we ever see Errol Spence get back to his full strength? Will we ever see him get back to 100%? Because going into this Yordenis Ugas fight, I'm not confident for Errol Spence. I don't want to make a formal prediction just yet. But yeah, I'm not entirely confident in Errol Spence's ability to win this fight because of the condition that he's in. You know, it's often fighters, they go through training camps and into fights with injuries, like aches and pains, and sometimes long-term injuries that they've carried through their entire careers. But Errol Spence, lest we forget, he couldn't go through. He was supposed to fight Manny Pacquiao, but he couldn't. He had to pull out because of a retinal tear, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was the injury. That's no small injury, folks. You suffer a retinal tear, you risk going blind. These are serious injuries that Errol Spence has sustained. And now, even if Errol Spence is at the peak of his powers in the best possible condition, say, let's imagine the car crash never happened. This is still a very tough fight for him. It's a very, very close fight. These two are quite evenly matched. But when you consider that Errol Spence has sustained those injuries, he did have that car crash, it's not a good look going into this fight. And now, on the flip side, let's preempt it. If Errol Spence goes into this fight and legitimately beats Yordenis Ugas, given what's happened, that is something for the history books. That is truly extraordinary. Because, as I say, this is an even matchup anyway. But when you consider that Errol Spence, what he's gone through, that is something special. So, yeah, it's, as I say, great fight. I'm really glad it's happening. I'm just wondering, have the best years of Errol Spence's career been shaved off by that car accident? I'm just asking the question. I don't know. And we'll probably never know until Errol Spence retires and he's achieved everything he set out to. and it's all been said and done. But yeah, I'm just posing the question. Yordenis Ugas is a very, very tough operator. He's still got a lot to prove himself. I feel like he's only just starting to be appreciated by the boxing public after his win over Manny Pacquiao. But it was a good win, over, albeit against an aging Manny Pacquiao. Still a legend, but a legend who really had one foot out of the door. So it's excuse me, just clearing my throat. It is interesting, and at this point, you know, the fight's a little over 2 months away. I am leaning towards Yordenis Ugas, but it is a very close fight, and it's going to be interesting to see the shape of Errol Spence. Will he even be able to make it through training camp for this one? He couldn't for the last training camp. It'd be very sad if he can't. But that's just my opinion on this. Let me know what you think below. What do you think of this fight? What do you think of Errol Spence's condition going into this fight? Do you think he's going to be able to fully shake off the effects of that car crash? Or do you think there are going to be some lingering effects, some lingering injuries, and maybe even some damage to Errol Spence's full potential? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff would be greatly appreciated. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you on the next video.